It's just so much faster now. It used to take, if you got to Colombia, let's say you fly to Bogota. Like there's people that fly from Istanbul to Bogota every day. And then from Bogota, it's a bus ride up to Nicocli. You get on the boat, you go over. Next thing you know, you're at one of these camps like Bajo Chiquito or Las Blancas. It could take you a month easily to get to the United States, easily take you a month. Now, we tracked one guy from Colombia to Brooklyn. It took him about 10 days. And he had a driver's license. He was Chinese, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, he literally went there and had a driver's license because a lot of the Chinese are coming into their own ecosystem. Like a lot of the people are coming in like Planet of the Apes, pell-mell. They've got no organization. Not the Chinese, man. Chinese have an ecosystem within the ecosystem. They come in their own pipelines. Many of the Chinese are coming up. They're growing marijuana in Maine. You can see lots of articles about it now. They're growing marijuana in Oklahoma and Oregon and California, all over the place. They're growing huge amounts of marijuana. They're smuggling fentanyl.
So hold on. I know about this. So are you saying that the Chinese are sending their people down to South America? They're going through the Darien Gap, up Central America, and that's how they're infiltrating into the U.S.?
Huge numbers.
Do they really need to do that? Or, can they just fly right into the U.S.?
Oh, a lot fly, and others go through Canada. So some are actually going to Mexico and taking a boat and going to Canada.
So do you know what differentiates, like, if you're a Chinese national coming to the U.S. to do harm, how do you know whether you're going to go direct to the U.S., go to South America, and up through the Darien Gap, or south in from Canada?
I don't know how they make their determinations, but they do somehow. Some do. If they can fly straight to Mexico, they'll do that. They've told us that many times. Mm-hmm. The people that can't fly straight to Mexico, they have to find another way to get in. Some people come in on student visas. They would rather not go through the Darien Gap, but other people, almost all the Chinese can get through Quito, but a lot of them have brand new passports. Mm-hmm. How are you getting brand new Chinese passports? You can see if you look online, you'll see the Chinese consulate in Mandarin, what was about a year and a half ago or so, they were saying Chinese nationals can come and get new passports if they've lost their passports through irregular means, right? Mm. So, literally the Chinese government is openly supporting them to get new because, if you go to the Mexican side, in some places, there are burn barrels on the Mexican side. Chinese are throwing their documents in, right? A lot of the other people just throw them on the ground. The Chinese, they have OPSEC, man. They have document security and everything. They pay attention to details. They have their own networks, right? So the Chinese, what are they doing? Many are coming for this reason or that reason. I don't know what all they're coming for, but they're clearly mostly military-age males, right?
See, when you say military-age male, that makes me think that you believe they're coming here to invade in a fight. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's pretty obvious. And I think if you come down with your background, I'm not going to need to say a word. I'm just going to need to take the horse to water and be quiet and let you watch.
Do you think that's
how China... You tell me what you think.
Do you think that's what their plan is?
Straight up. They don't hide it. They hide it. They don't hide it at all. There's a book, Unrestricted Warfare, which you've probably read. Some of them actually say it. Most of them will not. But okay, here's one example. A guy named, this was last year, 2023. So there's this one place that I wait where they often come out in the dry season and they emerge at nighttime. And as you know, the best time to get people to talk is at nighttime when they're alone, right? So there's this one place I'll wait for them to come walking out of the jungle, and they come out, and it's on the way to the China camp. So they're all walking by, and I'll say ni hao, that sort of thing. Well, that night, Masako Ganaha actually approached one, as did a couple of other people I was with, and they're making video, and this one guy got quite angry, right? And he's like, and some of this is on video and audio, right? And he's, like, turn that off. And one of the guys I was with, unfortunately, said, "You're a spy." He just blurted, he's a young guy. Anyway, but the next thing you know, we're sitting at this table with this guy for an hour and a half, right? His name's Lu Shanjiao. He's itching, he's scratching. He just came through Canal Membrillo. And Canal Membrillo is the village deep in the jungle that's where most of the Chinese come through. Most of the Chinese don't go through Bajo Chiquito. They go through the different, easier route at Canal Membrillo. And so it's called Canal Village. It's on the Membrillo River, right? And so in Canal Membrillo, there are these bugs that the Imbra call morangoi. I hate those things. I've never seen them anywhere else in the world. They eat you alive, man. We should napalm that village. I used to joke with the Imbra Indians, we're going to come back and napalm this. Why do you live here? These bugs, they're terrible. But he came out of the jungle and he's itching and he's scratching and he's like, he was in that emotional state, right? And he actually had a poncho on. And so anyway, we get him at the table, get him calmed down. He was very angry. And as you know, if you can get him calmed down from that emotional state, he just kept rambling for an hour and a half. And he goes, I went to the Bahamas. I bought a boat from a Scotsman for $5,000 in Nassau, right? And as you know, there's a giant Chinese embassy in Bahamas. It's a huge embassy, right? They're clearly using Bahamas. We got people from China coming up on the Florida shores at Jupiter Beach and Miami and everywhere else every single day, right? And he said he bought a boat. He ran out of fuel. He was with his father, and he said he was adrift. His English was very good. I'm guessing he went to Luoyang, which you may have heard of that. That's where they do their spy school, right? Mm-hmm. I'm guessing he was MSS, Ministry of State Security, their CIA. I'm just guessing. I don't know. But he was very good in English. His body language was good. He was like, hey, man, he was using vernacular. And but he was a little off. He wasn't perfect yet. But he was heading to Florida. So he said he was adrift at sea. And he said the U.S. Coast Guard picked him up, right? And he somehow got deported back to the Bahamas. Now, I was able to confirm the Coast Guard definitely picked him up. That was a fact, right? So he was somehow deported back to the Bahamas. They were deporting him to China, connected in Cuba. This is what he told us. And he then changed his flight and went to Quito, Ecuador, because Chinese can get through Quito. Then he took the China route, and we intercepted him as he came out of the jungle. Gotcha. And he went on for a long time. So we got more information about him. I got his phone number. We were able to track back a lot of stuff, including what appears to be a military ID that we got later, not through him, through other methods. And he appears to actually have been an officer in something. And bottom line is, I'm guessing MSS, and that's what some others guess, but I don't know.
Interesting. So let's go back to the fighting age males. we're really in the weeds on all this stuff right now. I want to lift it up to about a 30,000 foot view. What are they doing? What's the plan?
I think, for instance, okay, let's rewind a little bit to the plan. Keep in mind, I have written 3 books on Chinese information war. I'm kind of dialed in on this. I've been to Tibet, where they were kind of moved in and just took it. Some of it was kinetic, but mostly it was demographic, right? I was in Hong Kong for 7 months until they kicked me out during the last spasm from 2019 to 20, right? And so how did they take Tibet? Mostly demographic warfare. Han Chinese moving in and supplanting the Tibetans who moved off to northern India. I've been up to northern India talking with them. A lot of Tibetans are in Hong Kong, or they're in Oregon and California, right? They're all over the place with their prayer flags, but they're gone. Tibet is gone, essentially, right? How did they take Hong Kong? They took Hong Kong, again, they were just bringing in like 100 to 150 Han Chinese per day. They were taking over key positions like professors, preachers, actually literal preachers, and politicians, of course, also policemen, all the P's, and and just slowly taking over the cockpit. And so they mostly did it demographically. They set conditions. As you know, with your background, you know all about setting conditions. This isn't about sparks and all that. This is about setting conditions. And the Chinese are very patient about setting conditions. So they slowly just bring in the demographic waves, just enough, not enough that everybody rises up and goes crazy, but you fill the bathtub, right? And so that's what they did in Tibet. That's what they did in Hong Kong. That's what they're doing. I was just down in Honduras, and I was in a place called Roatan. I was talking with a very interesting guy there, and I asked him, do you know anybody in the Honduran government that's in Roatan's an island in Honduras, right? And I said, do you know anybody who has been invited, somebody from the top levels of the Honduran government, military, whatever, who's been invited to China? And he said, actually, yeah, a friend of mine. So who happened to be the top general in the Honduran military. In fact, he was like their chairman of the Joint Chiefs. So I said, oh, is he here? Can we invite him, right? He goes, no, he lives on the mainland near Tegucigalpa. I said, well, can you call him up? and ask him to dinner tomorrow night. So we flew him in. The next night, we had dinner with him for 3 or 4 hours, right? And he talked about how he was invited to China because his grandfather came into Honduras, the Chinese, in like 1923, right? And so these are called what they call overseas Chinese, right? So I'm going somewhere very important with this. They'll find these overseas Chinese. I had Masako Ganaha sitting beside me, that Japanese journalist who's always Johnny on the spot. And she was, we'd talked about this quite a lot. They always invite you over. They'll have a parade for you. They'll show you the graves of your family and that sort of thing. He's like, oh, they invited me over. They had a parade for me. They showed me the graves of my family. That's what they do, right? And it's what they do everywhere I go. That's what they do, and they get you one. He said he's been to China, I think 7 times at this point. So those are what they call overseas Chinese. Now there's a different type of recruitment there's numerous different types. Another type is more archaeological and anthropological. For instance, we knew that there was an archaeological dig going on in Honduras. So that's why we flew to Honduras, because the Chinese are doing an archaeological dig there, and they're trying to persuade the Mayan Indians that they came over on the land bridge and they're actually Chinese. And all these bad white people came and took your land, the Spanish, wherever, the Germans, whoever, took your land, right? But we're all brothers and sisters, we're cousins, whatever, but we're all family, and we're going to take this stuff back. So interestingly, that Honduran general, we were talking about this in detail. He goes, their plan is not to attack you and take over the world. Their plan is to become the world. They're going to become this demographically. They're going to just slowly, that's what I saw in Tibet. That's what I see in parts of Thailand, the place where they want to build the Kra Isthmus Canal. Chinese are moving down there, right? I'm seeing this everywhere I go. I'm watching it in Panama. I'm watching it. It's happening in Honduras. It's happening in Guatemala.